We are live in the thing. Yeah, I'm gonna figure this microphone out one day. Let's wait till people start flowing on in here. Wait till some people start flowing in. I'm gonna bring that closer. So as people come in, they get to see what the business is. Y'all can see what we talking about today. Let me grab me something really quick. All right. What's up, folks? Let the let the locks be seen a little something. Since I got them pulled back. I don't know. But what's happening, folks? Yeah, they don't look. That's too much. That's too much. That's too much. What's going on? What's going on? Appreciate y'all coming in. I know it's a odd time of day. Many people are working. What's up, Plasma Bean? How you doing? How you doing this morning? Colony baby, what's up? What's up, folks coming in? We're gonna get it in this live stream morning. We're gonna talk about some stuff. I know it's been a minute since your boy done been on. It's been a little minute since your boy been on, but here I am. Let me elevate my computer so it won't trip on me. Need some elevators. This might work. That works. That works. All right. All right. So yeah, we here. We here. We got the YouTube side going. I can't see. Oh yeah, they changed where you see the people at in the studio. Man, when I go about a week away from doing these videos, these live streams, I almost have to relearn some of the software. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, man, how do I do that again? But I remember everything. I remember everything. So, who's the king? The king wants his $2. Who is the king and why does he want his $2? Who is the king and why does he want his $2? Says here that he's the ruler of Canadian Color Town before Dawes Commission. So what's up, Uncle? How you doing this morning? Yeah. It says the king was the ruler of Canadian Color Town. Now some of y'all have seen this in one of my recent videos, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about this king and queen situation. And this is kind of a continuance of a discussion that I had this morning with on Monty Muse's channel, on Monty's channel, on his live stream. And he was showing I took a screenshot of it. Where's my phone? He was showing. He said it was Queen somebody. Let me see. And I don't even know if it had a name on it when I took the screenshot. But I'm gonna show you anyway. So he showed this on his live stream. Shout out to Monty. And it was as you can see, I had just joined when he showed that. And it's a queen. I don't want to say Elizabeth, but like some queen, very well known, that's in well known in Europe, but she was really an Indian. I wish I had the name. But then that started getting us into a discussion about what's up, Dominique? Said Fleur de Lis on the headdress. Oh, Fleur de Lis. I've heard of that. Fleur de Lis. Man, that is. I literally have a. There's like a YT guy that says that, and I never knew what that meant. Um, and he was like something something of a Fleur de Lis. And I got it, like I literally have it in a clip, and I don't even know what it is, but I heard that I what was that video clip? I have that in a clip, and it's I don't know what it is though, but it's like right there in my head. It's crazy that I could even get that out, get that from that. Man, it's like right there. It's like right there in my head because I literally have a dude on my iPad in a video, and I don't even know if I was it was to go through it. And he says it real quick, and then it goes to something else. I'm trying to figure out what the something else is in order to figure out what the video is in my head, but I don't know. Maybe it'll hit me. Maybe it'll hit me. But this was a queen, all right, right? Now that got us in. Now I jumped up on the panel after that. I jumped up on the panel after that because literally I was just looking into Canadian Colored Town. Now notice right here. I don't know why I did that. Right here, it says Canadian Colored Town or Canadian Colored Muskogee, but it's still in Muskogee Nation territory. So we know it's an Indian territory. It says that easily, but it's a colored Indian territory, right? So, okay, when I started looking more into this colored Canadian colored town, which my ancestor is on, I'll show y'all his name. His name listed in here as Willie Love, Mr. Willie Love, right there. And several Love folks right here, here. So several of the Love people. But notice they're in a colored town. These will be colored folks, right? The Love family. So there's no question whether Willie Love, William Love, which is on my ancestral tree, that he was a colored man, still living in Indian territory under the Creek rolls. Even though he was under this was a Creek roll, the family is still listed as a Chickasaw. So it makes you wonder, like on the Dawes rolls in 1890, he's in the Chickasaw. Let's take a look. I'll show you. So I don't even know if I have his thing up here. No, I'm gonna have to go get it. And we're gonna get into some cool stuff too. There's something I found this morning that I'm still trying to make sense of it, but we're gonna go over it this morning, and it's pretty mind blowing, if, to say the least. So yeah, he was signed up as a Chickasaw and on the Chickasaw Freedmen. So it makes you also wonder. And there he goes, William, Bill, William, Willie, William, because Bill is short for William, whatever. Other things say William, but and as you can see over here, links Mr. William Samuel Bill Love over here. But we got a Willie Love out there that somebody uploaded, and that Willie Love was in Canadian colored town under the Muskogee Nation. Now, you know, I'm still trying to figure out all these different signups, and it makes sense because when you go to the dolls roles, they ask you if you've signed up for any other roles sometimes. And I don't know if people are lying. Like people could be lying because they're trying to get their land or something. I don't know, all the exacts, but either way, he was listed here first in that's 1896. Before, well, now I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah, because it's Dawes Rose interview. I don't know. With him, there's a lot of corruption. With William Love, there's a lot of corruption between him and who his parents are. Even though we know who his parents are, it's still like corruption on paperwork. I'm not even going to get into all that. But so let's keep going. So it made me start to want to look more into this colored town, this Canadian colored town. Now, as soon as I start looking into Canadian colored town, what's up, everybody? What's up, Regal? What's up, Cypher Born? What's up, Rashad? I didn't see y'all up over here. La La Land, what's happening? Who else done got up in here? Teddy Petty Tendergrass, what's happening? What's happening, all y'all? So yeah. So we're talking about kings and queens, and then we're also going to be talking about other topics. But this is a continuance of a discussion that me and Monty had this morning on his live stream, and I just thought it was an amazing idea to tap into because when you start looking into Color Town, Canadian Color Town, you'll find other towns as well, and they are also colored towns. Arkansas Colored Town, Norfolk Colored Town, things of that nature, right? Now, some of y'all have seen this, and this is what I found in newspapers. Okfuskee Colored, oh no, that's Canadian Town, I'm sorry. But these people were, and I think all of these, let's see, 20 towns of respective candidates. Yeah, these people were voting for who was going to be chief. Okay. What's up, Papina? Said Monty be on it. No, he really do. He be having some real game. Let me see. Let me look over here on the YouTube side. What's up, Akila? I see you over there on the YouTube side. All right, y'all. And so it made me want to start looking more into Color Town. So as I'm going through looking into Color Town, I come across this one of these ones first. It says identifying lost creeks, town kings and warriors. Now this is in 1904. All right. So we're talking about identifying lost creeks, and we know creeks are at this point Shawnees, Uchis, Yamasis, all kind of randomness to be honest. At this point, the ones that came to Oklahoma. But it says the town kings and warriors of Norfolk Colored Town, Arkansas Colored Town, and Canadian Colored Town have been identifying the lost creeks in the creek enrolling divisions of the Dawes Commissions for several days. There are more than 3,000 names on the list of the lost in the Arkansas Colored Town, and it will take several days to get through this list. Now, this is 1904. I want to say this is all either it's decently after or maybe still during the Dawes Road. That's on the tail end of it. What's up, Monet? How you doing? And Fadi, what's up? She said, yes, a new rabbit hole for me to go down. For real. What's up, real Indian chief? Peace and abundance. I see you there. Said, my Birdnest bloodline is Shara Indian. Oh, okay, that's what's up. I've heard Shara Indian before. I've heard the Shara before. So you got creeks. So now we know that these people are town kings and warriors, Creek Indians in Oklahoma, and some of them are lost. We have even a number of 3,000. Now, this makes me want to go look here because I haven't even done this yet. Pretty curious. What was the number of creeks listed in 1890 on this census? I haven't done this. I just thought about that. Let's see. Yeah, I know this is a bullshit ass document. 17,000 creeks, 4,000 supposed Negroes, about 10,000 supposed Indians, and 3,000 supposed whiteys. Okay, that ain't really giving me no new information. But okay. But I also feel like that 4,000 number is like, I don't know, some BS because um, it's saying here they had 3,000 alone just out of these three colored towns, and there's other creek towns around. So, but okay, so I was when I first saw that I wasn't sure, right? I was like, all right, we're talking about some lost creeks, and town kings. So I go over, and now I'm seeing one right here, just talking about a Pero Bruner. Now, who knows who Pero Bruner is? First of all, if y'all been following me, you should know well of that name Bruner right there, because I've been making videos about Caesar Bruner, and I've said many times that my best friend from my school days, last name is Bruner, and they were card carrying Seminoles, even when I didn't even know I had anything to do with an Indian. Well before, I mean, in my 20s, like 20 something years ago, literally they was on. And imagine if I could have had my mind fixated on this shit 20 years ago. Oh man, I've lost so much time. I've lost so much time to think about it. Like if I would have knew I was an Indian back then and would have been putting my brain on that shit, man. 20 years of research, we would have been up. Say, Creed Friedman, you are exactly where you're supposed to be at. I know, right? I know that I'm supposed to go through the experiences I'm supposed to go through. We all are. That's real talk. That's real talk. Don said you heard of a Coney. I have heard of a Coney. I'm trying to. I can't think. I bet I might. I wouldn't be surprised if I had some receipts with a Coney on it if I typed it in my search on my iPad. I just can't think of what exactly. Like I've heard of it, seen it, but it hadn't been a tribe or anything that I delved into. What up, O? He said we would have changed the world already, bro. Within 20 years ago. I know, man. Oh man, I know. And when my best friend when he got his, it was just getting benefits. He was just trying to get, he didn't give a damn either. He knew he was Indian. He was just like, yeah, we Indian, Sam. He didn't have too many stories to tell me, you know what I'm saying? But he just knew that they family knew and they from Woka and blah blah blah. He knows Seminoles and this and that. But I really wish I could. And he's no longer here. And that's what's so sad is that if he was really here by the time I found this shit out, we could have some amazing conversations. But it is what it is now. Say exactly on track. Appreciate that in Hancock, Georgia. Oh, in Hancock, Georgia. Okay, I've definitely heard of the Oconee, but okay, Pero Bruner. So hold on, let me look. I see some people on the YouTube side. What's up? I am Arindia Me. How you doing this morning? The real offended. What's happening with you? And Father with Don and Tasco. Let me see. Hold on, let me see what y'all saying. I gotta read what y'all saying. Said word up. I saw your videos the other day. I'm gonna put this up here so people can see too. Word up, I saw your video the other day, and several of my family last names were represented. And that's what's up. I love when people's families are represented, and I love it when people give me their personal testimonies. People will message me or mostly in the comments will say like either like give me like basically corroborate my research with their oral history of their experiences in their family or whatever the case may be. Like one big thing that's going around is not big, but one video that's going around is that the one I did about the fur. And like, you got a lot of comments on that because there's a lot of people that can resonate with their family having these furs. And so I love to see that. I love to see that kind of uh, togetherness and scholarship and community. I appreciate all your good work, brother. I appreciate that. What's up? I am Meridian Me. What's happening? Got follow with Don says, man, you sure did study before you present this information. Good journalism, bro. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, man. And I gotta leave for a second. That's I am Meridian Me. How you doing? Faithful watcher. Then you got Task Code CEO says, Samuel C. What Arkansas color town are they talking about? Uh, I believe. Let me just. You know what? That's a good question. Let me just make sure it's not in this map that I was. Because otherwise, at first you want to just think off top Arkansas. But hold on, let me find my little map. No, it was in Oklahoma. And I was gonna say, I think it's Oklahoma. So yeah, there you go. Arkansas Color Town. It was known as one of the early towns established before 1880. So you have black-owned towns that was all through here, Canadian colored, Arkansas colored, Norfolk colored, and Tallahassee. Um, Ain't nothing to worry about, y'all. Is these things be going off over here. Hopefully it stops here pretty soon. The little fire alarm. Okay. Let me read what y'all been saying why this says that. Why it does this. Goodness. I'm about to unplug that thing. Okay, hold on. Let me see what y'all saying. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, y'all. I have a new term for me, bro. I am multi-ethnic Indian. We mix, bro. So you got a bunch of different Indians. I definitely got a lot of different Indian tribes with me. Definitely. Um, let me get this off the screen. My bad. Hold on. Too much cooking going on. They said too much cooking going on. They done set off the fire alarm. I done set the fire. Yeah, crazy. I appreciate all you. There we go. That didn't. Luckily, it didn't last long. She said, "I appreciate all your work. I learn more here than anywhere else. I appreciate that. I am Amerindia me. I appreciate that. So okay. So while I got a pause break within this, because sometimes it'll come back on, and it just keep going off for a few times. Okay, so Canadian Color Town. Let's get to more of that, and let me pull up who Payroll Bruner is. Told y'all. I'm gonna pull up Payroll Bruner. Goodness, they trying to turn it off and keep going on. This is Payroll Bruner. So some of y'all have seen this. There are some people who go around right now with this guy on their avatar as their avatar. I know one of them in particular. Um, and I don't know if they know this. They should know this information I'm about to tell you about. It's all in the newspapers. But he was known as the town king of Canadian Colored Town, the king of Canadian Colored Town. Now, you know what I just thought about? Wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. I hate this thing. I hate this thing. Okay. In here, Payroll Bruner is in here. I just remembered that. But let's see what they refer to him in here. Uh, he's in a picture. Watch. And I'm trying to remember what they, because I wanted to just say they was like, I think he's in this. I think. And this is a corrupt ass document. A corrupt ass document, full of erasure, purposeful erasure. Okay, maybe payroll was in there. That's not payroll. That's Martin Nance, a Creek slave, but he is a Creek. Uh, but that's not him there. They called him a slave, obviously, an ex-slave in a sense. I thought payroll was in here, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was thinking about. Yeah, this document is a bunch of bullshit. But I guess I was wrong about payroll on this. I've seen him on some other document. I've seen him many times, but he's not on the document. Okay, but let's get back. So that's payroll Bruner. Now let's look at more into payroll Bruner in these documents. Let's get up out of here. Go back in these documents. So payroll Bruner of payroll IT, king of Canadian Color Town, is at the Creekland office this morning on business. They just threw that in there randomly. I was like, what? Okay. But he's at the Creek Nation office on business. Now, let's read this one. The king wants his money. I was like, the king wants his money. So this is where it's going to get a little interesting. Whoops. And sit there as a straight up brother. Yeah, this is where it's going to get a little interesting. Ruler of Canadian Town. Ruler of Canadian Color Town before commission. Before what commission? The Dogs Commission? Maybe so. Nearly every person who has been in the territory and been any considerable length of time knows or has heard of Pero Bruner. Nearly every person who has been in the territory for anybody, they basically say, you know Pero. Okay. Let's say he's the king of Canadian Color Town. And when I first read this, I was like, are they just playing games? Are they just making fun? But at the same time, I remember the one I just showed y'all where it said that each town had town kings. So now I'm just kind of, okay. So it says Pero is an old man, a Creek Negro, and is easily recognized as a true Uncle Remus. Get about to talk noise about him a little bit. He is even a more unique character than Joel Chandler Harris' creation. Joel Chandler Harris's creation uses the same dialect and employs words of many syllables without much idea of their meaning or appropriateness. They're talking about his speech. Says yesterday a non-citizen Negro. So think about this. So at this point, some people are citizens Negroes, some people are non-citizen Negroes. But yesterday, a non-citizen Negro woman applied to the Dawes Commission. So when they say before Dawes, that's what they meant. The Dawes Commission is going on at this time, and this is what year? 1904. Okay. This is like the end, near the ending of it. But it says, for the enrollment of her children, claiming that her home was in Canadian Colored Town. The king sauntered into the commission rooms, and he was asked to be a witness. So I want y'all to realize he's asked to be a witness. What is he likely witnessing? He's being a witness to tell people whether or not she's a part of the town. Is she a citizen or not? Whatever. That's what I'm thinking. So nicely called him country, right? So it says with many protestations, I can't even say this word. With many protestations, the old man refused to comply, saying that the commission would not pay him his $2 for witnessing fees. He's supposed to be getting witness fees. And he was a sufficiently important personage to command that sum. So here we are. You got basically the story is Payroll Bruner is the town king. They need him to be a witness for the Dolls Roll Commission to say whether or not this person is really part of the town. And here he is. He's like, okay, I can do that for you. I need my $2. This is gonna get even more funny, more funnier. It says to every urging, the Negro would burst into a jargon of heavy eloquence, repeating with every breath the words $2. Every time they say so, he'd be like $2. It says to every urging, the old Negro would burst out in a jargon of heavy eloquence, repeating with every breath word $2. I was like, okay. I didn't know what to think of this at first. Let me go to the next page. I was like, okay. And then it says, playing upon his vanity, he recalling the importance of his position. At last, he considered that it was best to answer the subpoena, but was not thoroughly mollified. If that's what that says, mollified. Yeah. When Mrs. Beaver's chief of the Creeks enrolling division asked him, so you had Mrs. Beavers, who was the chief of the Creek enrolling division. Now, I want you to realize this. Is she really a chief, or have they created a position and called the position chief position of the enrolling, right? That's what I'm kind of wondering, because is Miss Beavers a YT woman with the Dogs Commission that's enrolling the crease and payroll, or is Miss Beavers somebody else from the same Canadian town? It doesn't really say, but I'm curious about it. And the fact that they called it chief of the Creek enrolling division, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Because earlier this morning, I was looking at an article or a book or something, and it said governor in chief, which I was like, why do they even use that phrase governor in chief? Like commander in chief for the, all these phrases using the term chief. Let me not get off to the weed. Let me keep this going. You said my last $2, culture baby. Asked him to be sworn. He held up his leg. Okay, now listen to this. Listen to this part, because this is funny, like what Monet just said. So when Mrs. Beavers, chief of the Creek enrolling division, asked him to be sworn in, so they're like, hey, Mr. Payroll, will you come and swear in? He's like, all right, I'm going to come up, right? She was like, he held up his left hand just to be contrary. Instead of holding up his right hand, he held up his left hand. And she said, it says, when told to change his hands, the old man pointed with the ceiling with two fingers and mumbled, $2, nigga. When I read that, nigga, I was laughing. I said, no way, dude. He went in there. They said, raise up your right hand. The nigga said, left hand. And he's like, will you change your hand? $2. Y'all niggas thought I was here playing? I was like, this is crazy right here. Okay, let's keep going. When asked his name, the disgusted king of Canadian, now notice they are referring to him as the king multiple times. Even though they're making fun of him, they're still referring to him as the king along with other papers. Now, if I was just reading this article alone, because they're kind of making fun of him a little bit, and they're gonna make a little bit of fun of him down below with the way he talks. But I would have thought that the king was really them just making fun of. Oh, he's the king, right? Just like he's the most popular nigga, whatever, right? But no. Other references show him as the king, and other towns had town kings. So when they're saying this, to me, these people believe him to be the king of the particular town. Now, what do they think of a king? Now, we saw a picture of him. Does he look like a king royal walking around here? No. But was he the king of the Creek tribe, or at least that area? I mean, let's keep going though. It says, and maybe that's the naming, and maybe king is the naming structure they chose purposely, like not the YTs, but the Bruners and people, like maybe they brought that naming convention over, even though they may not be as royal as they used to be after the Seminole Wars. By the time they get to Oklahoma, They still had things going, had their own town. Maybe they kept the same hierarchy of naming convention or whatever, as a king. I'm not really sure why they refer, and I'm gonna have to look a little bit further. When does this king naming convention even start? Because I also find it odd because I don't see the term king used a lot in some of the earlier texts that I read. It's always chiefs, caciques, but at the same time, sometimes they do, refer to them as king. It makes me want to put the word king in my search real quick. Hold on, it really does, and go to some of my earlier receipts. So everything that you just seen in here that I'm scrolling past has the word king in it. So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, also I got to think too. There should be a lot of kings too, because there are also, as this was talking about king, there's also people that's going to be referring to the kings of Europe, right? So I didn't think about that too. So it's not going to be just all just kings, king officers, I don't know whatever. So I'm gonna have to go it won't be just like an easy find to see if I can find some of our own references to us being kings uh, from earlier books and things of that nature. But I'm gonna look. I'm gonna go through a lot of these and see what I find some other time. Let me get up out of here. So let me finish off this real quick. So he wants us $2 to witness on who's being a citizen or not, in a sense, with the Dawes Rose Commission of these color towns. And because apparently my assumption is by this time is 1906, people could have migrated or whatever came to live in these towns since the whole release in 1865 or whatever, right? So it's up to him to, I guess, say who yay or nay on whoever. But it says in a tone reply, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. When asked his name, the disgusting king of Canadian town, in a tone indicating pity for the lack of knowledge by the clerks, you all just knows my name. He's like, you all just knows my name. It done writ down on every book on paper in this building, as I's done been afford this body of gentlemen for all their years. This concern has been fixing up things for the engine. Now, you know what? I'm now realizing, look, I'm realizing our way of speaking and even the English spoken by the that we call broken English patois. I'm starting to more and more see that as the original language, like the word engine used right there. And we're like Indian. And I'm starting to see how our words are Germanized or whitenized in a sense. And where we're all these syllables, everything we got to have all these syllables. And typically we go against it naturally. We'll put the words together. Indian, no, I'm thinking engine. Like Indian. Yeah, but now that as engine or Indian or Indian, or indigo is what people say. Indian comes from indigo. I don't know how it exactly right, but I can see it. And the fact that they wrote it like that, and I can see it being said like that, and I also got my ancestors who said the same thing. And we know other people who have as well. Come on, now, I got more than that. Come on, really? Let me try that one more time. Really? James. I don't know why I couldn't see it. But full-blooded Indian is what he said he was in his oral testimony of the Dawes Roll Commission around the same time. This is 1900. Around the same time. So that same phrase being utilized by my own folks, Indian instead of Indian, and they're writing it the way that he said it there. But you know what's funny is here they're making in this newspaper clipping I just showed y'all, they're making fun of the way he talks, and you can tell that by the way that they're typing. Like typically when you're typing somebody's responses, you're gonna type it the way it's supposed to be typed, even though it's pronounced differently, right? They have a dialect or whatever. But on my ancestors' paperwork, it didn't. He didn't write it down at all in no broken English patois, but he still wrote the word engine right there. That's what I'm getting to. Engine was still used, even though either the guy was speaking. And you know what? We're actually, I take that back. Because let me show you proof. Now, not to say, so Pero Bruner likely did talk this way because these were Seminoles, and the Seminoles came from Florida, right? And Florida was almost most of the South, right? But on top of that, they were speaking like this, right? And so when they get to Oklahoma, they still speak like the people over there, right? Queen Quet with her weird self, when she said she went over there, she was like, oh, they're speaking Gola. No, man, y'all speaking the same thing. Okay. What I said was broken English patois, but what y'all are speaking is I'm gonna start calling the original English. So what I'm gonna start calling it. Y'all speaking the broken English patois, probably known as the original English, is what I'm gonna start saying. But and let me show you this real quick. I know I saved it. Come on now, I know I saved it. Oh, here it is. So Pero Bruner. Pero Bruner, right? Now he's at the Dawes Commission in 1902. This is actually prior to that newspaper. I think that newspaper said 1904. This is 1902. And so you got this where it says, here, it's a question and answer format. Let me just get some of his longer answers. But notice right here it says he's the town king. He answered, I'm the town king of Canadian town. They asked him, what position do you hold? I'm the town king of Canadian town. All right. It says, for whom do you make application for this enrollment? For one, Mary Ann Bruner and Gracie Bruner. What is it? What is the age of Mary Ann Bruner? I expect she is about between 16 and 17. Now, notice what I'm trying to get y'all to see is the person that's doing this isn't typing in a broken English patois or original English, right? It seems like he's typing a regular thing, right? So the reason why I want y'all to get that, where it says Mary lived in the Creek Nation with Pero 2 years or more. Gracie never lived in the Creek Nation. That was his answer on one of those questions. So it doesn't sound like he's like Mary living in the Creek Nation and with a payroll. Like, no, it's not what's going on. And so what I wanted to show y'all with that real quick is just that whenever you do see that kind of shit, typically is them people wanting to make fun of the person and how they talk. Not to say that he wasn't talking that way. And I say that to say, when you get people like Zora Neale Hurston that writes these books, or Barracoon, or you get Lorenzo Dow Turner who writes the Africanisms. Weird. I smell something sweet, like a sweet candle is burning. And I ain't got no candles burning. Maybe I'm tripping. Okay. So when he writes these books and says he finds Africanisms in the dialect, he's literally taking our broken English / original English and trying to compare it with African words that he don't know nothing about. And any little thing that he can find that has any kind of phonetic sounding, he's going to try to contribute it to something African. But really, most of the book is full of 150 pages of the book is full of African names that we don't even name our people. It's weird. But either way, you got these people trying to justify ways of why we're speaking this English and it's broken and where the African is inside of the English, which is not that, But he says, eyes are old enough, Mister Beavers, as you done know me to be well now. So years of age, I figured, but eyes old enough to certainly be worth $2 for my experience, for my extensive services. So either way, I wanted y'all to see that, and that was a big story. The king wants his $2. Ruler of Canadian Colored Town before the Dawes Commission. So now we understand what it meant before the Dawes Commission. My bad. So before I thought it meant before the Dawes had even been done, but before the Dawes Commission here means he was there presenting information to the Dawes Commission. But he was made to serve without pay. Payroll Bruner pointed upwards with two fingers and declared that he was entitled to $2 service. I was like, this shit is crazy, man. So, main things getting into here. I want to try to see this. It's kind of crazy. As I was looking this up in the Canadian Color Town over here, as you can see, I saw this over here. I was like, servo killed by bursting balloon. The unaliving of Senhor Cervero, the Brazilian aeronaut who with an assistant was unalived this morning by an explosion from his airship. La Pailla, in which he was making a trial trip, created terrible consternation, whatever. And blah, blah, blah. Basically, the balloon, which was at 1,500 feet above the ground. So you got an airship. Said the engine accompanied was burned, whatever. So, I just thought that was interesting. I'm going to just throw that over there. We ain't going to stay too far in that one right now. Well, let me see what y'all say. It said, they say when you smell smoke or a candle means you're being visited by a dead. Oh, really? Really? Wow. Now you got me smelling around. Where you at, ancestors? Shit. No, they could be. And I do believe that they do be around. I do believe. Look, I know they be around feeding me topics. When I show y'all later here soon what I found in this book, and when I tell y'all I shouldn't have even like the page. I'm gonna just show y'all real quick. It's an 810 page book, right? 810 pages. And the only reason why I found this book, and we're going to get into it later, is I found this document. It's called War, or Chapter 1, the Colonial Period, the War Revolution, War of 1812. And I was looking up stuff about the War of 1812. And I want y'all to look at the name of this book. In the National Archive records. Let me show you that too. I want y'all to look at the name of this. Where you at? Where are you at? What is it at? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Look at that shit. The Negro in the Military Service of the United States, a compilation of official records, state papers, historical extracts, etc., relating to his military status and service for the date of his introduction into the British North American colonies, prepared under the direction of the Brigadier General and Eminem. This thing is stamped by the War Department multiple times. Yeah. And then when I'm looking in here, it mentions some things we're going to get into, but it also mentions references to books. So I pulled up this book reference, and it had talked about a particular page. I couldn't find the page. I found the page, but it didn't talk about the topic it was talking about in the page. So I expanded the book in order to see if it had any kind of charts or any kind of anything. It looks like I'm starting to freeze up. Hopefully not. But to see if it had any kind of charts or any kind of anything. And I clicked on this page right here because this was the only page that I really seen with this kind of chart. I started reading, and damn, I hate this thing. It made me lose my area. There you go. I started reading. You know what? I got screenshots of it, so I don't. It don't do that to me again. And then we're gonna get back to the king and queen thing, but we're gonna go into this. But when I started reading, one thing that really got at me, but the committee state that in Louisiana alone, in the year 1868, there were more than 1,000 unalivings, and most of them were the result of the operations of the you know who, right? 1868, Louisiana. Who knows where I'm going to go with this? Who knows? Can anybody guess before I get there? I'm gonna see if anybody can guess before I get there. I'm gonna give y'all 10 seconds to guess because I know there's a slight delay. Anybody can guess? 1868 Louisiana. What's so important that these unalivings, 1,000 of them, would be so important? I don't think you're gonna get it. All right, all right, all right. I'm gonna fuck with you. Moment of silence. That's right, crew. What? What's up, Nikki? That's right. Same exact year. Who was also unalived and was known to be poisoned? Mr. O.J. Dunn. So when I saw that, we're gonna get back to that. That's after this king and queen thing, but I'm telling y'all, when you just said the ancestors next to me, they gotta be right, whatever, gotta be 810 pages. I could have easily clicked away from this book once I saw no charts was in it and no sources, because that's all I was doing. I was like, they referencing this book. There's no charts. There's no sources. There's no nothing. They're talking about slaves coming in. We're to get into that part, but I was just like, you know what? Let me get out of this dumbass book. And then I was like, you know what? Let me expand it. Because I literally told myself, and I tell myself stuff like this all the time. I can't say it doesn't have anything in there if I don't open it all and look, right? So if it's a newer book and it's talking about something way older like slavery, and this ain't that newer. This is 1872. So I mean, decent from the times, but it was talking about way before, or it was certain things were referencing. Well, maybe not this book. We'll get to that. But regardless, I was gonna leave it alone. If it doesn't have like any kind of references inside of it, I look at the back for the references. I look at the insides for any kind of real documents. Like sometimes they'll put a map in there or they'll put a letter or something. I try to look to see what's real inside, not just words. Because if it's just a bunch of words, then the only words I care about a lot of times are people who either were from those times or whatever. But what I'm getting to is I literally could have just easily got up out of this bitch and I expanded it, clicked on this one area, paid 644, and here it is. Not only that, I went to read up a little bit further. It mentions two counties. Where is it at? Outrageous. You know what? I went quite a bit up because I started to go back to get some context. after that. Let me see where I went. But when I stopped there, um, let me see if I saved it. Here it is. I want y'all to notice things are gonna, boy, stick out to me like a sore thumb. Pontotoc Pontotoc County, Mississippi. They were talking about that. They're also talking about Monroe County in Mississippi. KKK situation. Now, the reason why that resonates with me is because people on my tree. So when you say, yeah, the ancestors are like, now that's Martin Mission, Mississippi, Monroe Mission. So Monroe, Mississippi. And what was the other one? Pontotoc. Pontotoc. Some of my people, one of my, some, I can't remember which one, but Pontotoc is in one of my folks. I think it might be on my print side. Let me look. Choctaw, Shaqualak, Noxulaby, Mississippi, Pontotoc somewhere in there. I can't remember who. One of my people's from Pontotoc. But regardless of without me going through all of these, uh, that's why it resonated with me, and that's how you know your ancestors have to be around you, giving you and feeding you information. For them to throw you an 810-page book, open it up, and be like, "Bam, there it is, right there, nigga. Look, whoa, shit." I was about to click off this bitch. You know what I'm saying? And then they're talking about colored schools in these areas, and they're also talking about how these colored schools, these teachers are being threatened by KKK members. You got these KKK, these members going up, 80 plus members up to a woman, a woman teacher that's over the school, threatening her. You got to think what kind of BS. I got to say, I don't give a damn. I give restrictions. Bitch ass niggas would sit there you have to group up in 80 to a group just to intimidate one black woman, so-called black, right? Indian woman, my bad, right? And it's just amazing what like and then they I gotta say this, and then we're gonna get back to the king and queen thing real quick. But right here it says they informed him that the rule, so they made up this rule. They said, hey, the first time said you're gonna stop teaching these children. I want to say it was, yeah, because it was warning to stop the schools. They had a warning to stop their schools. The state superintendent of the schools, while on visit to Monroe County in the discharge of his duty, was called upon by 120 armed men, armed. They informed him that the rule was first warning, second warning, or first is a warning, second is a whipping, third is unaliving if you continue to teach. He refused to leave, and they beat him until he became insensible and left him, having previously given him to understand the rule would be carried out and that whatever. And at one point, I kept reading, they was beating into him saying, this is a white man's country. So, yeah, like when they want you to find something, they're going to be right there next to you, feeding you the information. And I love it. So let's go back to the kings and queens things. We'll get to that because we before we can get to that, we got to discuss what was in that document about the Negroes and how they start talking about slavery and their history of slavery. You got to think too, this is going to be the War Department that's talking about this, and they got this whole book about the Negro. Yeah, I say that whole book about the Negro. So we're going to get into that. But let's go back to the Pero Bruner thing. So King wants his $2. He's been known as the town king. Now, everything we're not going to be on this topic too much longer, but this is what made me go up to Monty's panel, and then Monty started to show this. Well, she said this was either Queen Elizabeth or Queen somebody. I can't remember who, but that was a queen. That's when I went up there and was like, well, we had King. We were using the name King even in the 1900s. So it's not it's not a far off thing. And then we started to really discuss different things. He started to bring up other kings and queens, some that were over there in Europe. Many of those who have been whitewashed, like King George, who was whitewashed, King James, who was whitewashed, but these people were known to be heavily melanated. But some of them would show them as mulattoes, and some of them would show them just as a white tea person. But then also it started to make me think, well, he remembered about the Indian queen. Now this is a, a document. I saved this from somebody. I don't know where they got it from personally, but I do believe it. Everything in here is represented correctly. So this was an Indian queen. Notice the term queen being used, and I want you to notice this garment on her, which looks like a print, like a animal print garment, like a expensive, like possible fur, right? Like an expensive possible animal fur, or it is a cotton mantle. But she also has the pearl earrings in her ears. Phenotype is on point. She's got feathers, and it's covering up her hair. It's kind of keeping you cool, almost like a hat. She got a little fan, and he said that these were known as Virginia Indians. And as you see, they have their uh, the closer you get, the more you can see they try to represent us. They have the pearls in their ears. Okay, everybody is represented with these pearls all the time. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And then you start thinking about this was one of the ones I had from the Caribbeans. The Caribbeans had kings. I was like, oh yeah, the Caribbeans had kings and queens as well. Now, when I first saw this long ago, I just didn't think nothing of it. I saw it and I was just like, huh, kings and queens in the Caribbean, man, I just thought that they were. I don't want to say they were cosplaying. I didn't know what to think when I saw it. To be honest, I just thought that they just had a little whatever. But technically, this would be kings, right? That'd be a king and a queen. And then you start thinking of all of the types of people that could have been here during that time that they've erased. Like they want us to know more about the because I was like, man, they talk about the chiefs and the caciques all the time in these historical docs, but it's almost like they're leaving out these kings, these royals, these people. They do make the caciques seem like kings at times too, right? The caciques are known for having enormous amounts of gold, or they might have a big structure on top of a mound, or many things, many different things. But it just opens up the whole idea that yeah, we was kings and queens. We had these kingdoms. A king in our time is no more than some of the richest person in your family. He could be the king in your family. Or maybe that would be a chief, but the king would be maybe like the most rich person in the city or in the hood, right, or whatever. And you would call that nigga a king. What up, king? Man, you over here kicking it up? You know what I'm saying? You got your bread, everything pulled up in your Rolls Royce bed on status. You know what I'm saying? You would look at that nigga as a like a king in a sense. What we would somewhat euphemize or whatever. And it's not hard to believe. But then it made me start to think more about old world ideas, you know what I mean? Because when you think about the old world and us having these structures, as far as like the Capitol buildings, which look real Roman and stuff, one in my head, I'm looking at it with the king, the caciques, and the chiefs being in those, as well as their people and whatever. But there's a whole royal class that possibly could have been there, and the royal class could have been purposely left out of a lot of the text, because we have what, as y'all know, we had the Council of the Indies. I told y'all about that. The Council of the Indies was supposed to be there to censor everything that was coming out of Europe. Coming out of America to Europe. So what were they censoring? And then you got people like Shahagan, which is a Voyager that had went over there. And when he came back, he talked about they destroyed all these things he had. He had paintings and stuff from various amazing temples and this and that and the thirds and all these. And they talk about the structures that were so enormous that they couldn't destroy them. So they had to leave them there to just kind of be in oblivion and just try to get people to forget. But they talk about these structures being there, but they don't want to tell you about the people. Or and in that book, they'll talk about how the people were being erased, but you just don't think about the possible kings and queens that could inhabit the royal. Even if we didn't use those terms, the royal like people who could have inhabited those. And for those who see my recent videos, these people talk about us walking around in furs, and we have fur trades. Now, furs, some of the most expensive types of things you can get, right? And we love furs, and it takes a lot to put these fur jackets together. And we was wearing those like nothing. We would mar skins of mar from skins of leather. We was wearing leather. I ain't gonna go all deep into it, but we was doing all that stuff. For those of y'all who see my video. And look at that. Like when I was looking up what is marten skins, because it says we was wearing marten skins of marten somewhere. Where is it at? It's somewhere. One of my little sources over here. I don't want to take forever. But these are like a bunch of little martens, like little animals that you grab, and you just don't even think about these things being, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, it's just a bunch of little animals that you stitch together and you make a coat. And that coat is gonna hit you. Okay, that coat is gonna hit you for the price, which is wild. Wow, right? But think about this: we were wearing these things already, all the time, free. Okay, because that's just what we made. We also was wearing gold. We was wearing pearls. We was wearing cotton mantles like togas over one shoulder, and that's always said we was wearing these things over one shoulders. Who wears these cotton things over one shoulders? The Romans are depicted like that, and the Greeks. Ah, hold on, y'all. Damn it. Sorry, YouTube, y'all still here. Twitter, y'all still here. TikTok died on me. I be trying to stick in my other window, and TikTok must have had the puzzle piece up, and I didn't do the damn puzzle piece. So, because I can see my TikTok streamers, I can see their comments through a separate window, so I don't even have to have the TikTok window up. But you really kind of have to have it up for that damn thing. Yeah, they stopped the live because I didn't have the screen up. It was likely the stupid puzzle piece thing. So that's on me. I gotta check it. It's been about an hour, so I gotta keep checking that stupid app. My bad, man. That's it was like 40 something, 50 some people up. But we still got 44 over here on the YouTube side of the game, so we still getting it in. And people are coming back in. That's 6. All right, y'all coming back in. Cool. Because this is misinformation. No, you're just a block bitch. I don't know why you came over here to get blocked. I want to get blocked today, you bitch. Well, here you go. Block. Like, I'm gonna sit here and let you just keep on doing all good, saying we good. That's what's up, man. Man, I'm my bad, y'all. Yeah, I'm back. That sucks, man. And it never gets filled back up the same way it did before. You know what I'm saying? Takes a minute for everybody to realize you got to update. But okay. So we're gonna move forward. Well, I'm gonna finish up the little skins things, but I was pretty much done. So we was wearing these skins and things like that. So like, so when you look at like these things that they're wearing, like I can see them being able, like I can reference all that, whether it be the gold that they have for the scepters, the cotton within the trousers, the cotton mantles, and they're dyeing them with certain dyes, and that's in the books. You know, a lot of this stuff, we can find. Same thing with her, like the pearls and all that stuff, and even in many of all the other things. All right, we got people coming back. So now we're gonna jump into this thing here. So just to say, was we kings and queens? Yes, for sure. Yes, we was a lot of things. We've had a lot of cultures. Did we use those particular words to describe us at some points? Did we always use those words? I don't know. 100%. It could. We could have. We could have. I got a little bit more research to do on that, or quite a bit of research to do on that topic, I should say. Y'all smack the screen a few times. Let's get up people. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah. So now we're gonna pivot while the algorithm picks up over here on the YouTube. I mean, not on the YouTube, on the TikTok side, and my people get back. We're gonna talk about these documents that I found. Okay. I was looking up the War of 1812, and I'll show you in the National Archive. So I just typed in War of 1812, and I still got a lot of things to look through. I found a lot of things with handwritten letters from the time. It's just gonna take a lot of time to go through. Like I started going through some of these letters, from 1813. See, that's when I care about what you're writing down word for word. Oh, what are you saying in 1813 about 1813, right? That's really important. And you wrote it down, not type it. Now, that still doesn't mean that you didn't lie, but it's a lot more credible than any kind of book that you're gonna find talking about it from some later time. So I found this. There's 1,000 plus. That's 1,300 images in here alone, and this is from 1812 to November 1812 to May 1814. So imagine what all could be up in there. And then you got this one, and then I found this one. Now this one, when I clicked it, let me see if it's still over here. I might have already went past it. I think I already went past it, but in there it listed some about Negro something something. That was another reason that made me want to go ahead and click on it. Letters received regarding enemy aliens. Let me just take a quick peek over there. Like I'm wondering in my head real quick, who are they calling an alien? Are they talking about enemy alien Indians, or are they talking about enemy alien like real people coming from not outer space, but other countries? Look, it's gonna take me some time to get through all these, to get through this. Become a citizen after the United States and renounce the allegiance and fidelity of foreign power. It looks like somebody's writing a naturalization paper down. Actually, they're rescinding their citizenship from someplace else, and I think that's what this is. I think these might be handwritten by account, but depending on the subdivision and situation of the country, how's it? Oh, okay, whatever. But as y'all can see, it can get pretty interesting pretty quick. There's a lot of, and this is why I say, man, look, there's so much history we haven't went through. Do y'all look? This one's 400 images. Sometimes it'll tell you how many people have clicked on this. Let me see. These got 0 transcriptions. And many some things that tell you how many people have clicked. Like when I say there's a lot of that we haven't figured out yet. Not that we haven't figured it out, right? We know to a degree an overall story about what happened, but we may not know them hard details, right? For specific situations on a more detailed basis. And when I say that, that's where like I feel like a lot of this going through shit like this, these letters, these newspapers, these archives and stuff. That's what's gonna really give us fill in those gaps, I should say. If anything, it might help to fill in these gaps on what we feel like we already know for sure. But let's go over here. So okay, yeah, people coming back. It still ain't kicked back up like it was before though, man. I hate when it does that. And that's on me. That's on me. Let me pull this up so I got it up too. I'm gonna have to probably give me like a second screen. Like I can use an iPad as a second. Actually, I do have a second iPad. It's in my office. I can use an iPad as a second screen, and I might have to do that in the future and move the or yeah, like move that screen over to the iPad so I can visually look that way and have an idea and keep that up to go. But that's just me. Okay, so the War Department, the Negro. So let's see y'all. Now they got a table of contents. So we're gonna go a little bit to see what is it about. What's this War Department 18 whatever talking about the Negro whatever, right? It says colonial period. So chapter 1 is going to be about the introduction of the Negro into the colonies, military laws and orders in council, casualty reports, and census. Chapter 2 is the War of the Revolution. Chapter 3, the War of 1812, together with documents of antecedent dates following the War of the Revolution and subsequent dates preceding the War of the Rebellion. And you have chapter 4, War of the Rebellion, which is supposed to be the Civil War. From the date of the President Lincoln's first inaugural address to the close of 1862, preceded by an exact from the report of the census of 1860, census report, fugitive slaves, contraband of war, laborers, and federal corresponding orders, legislators, blah, 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 blah. So it's only 4 chapters. But they're going to start it off with the introduction of the Negro. I want y'all to realize this is the War Department. And when I'm looking at this, it looks to me like they're trying to explain why niggas is fighting in all of these wars. They're like, okay, you got they was fighting in the Revolutionary War. They was fighting in the War of 1812. They was fighting in the War of the Rebellion. Chapter 1, we need to tell y'all how they even got here, first of all, before they started fighting in these wars. We need to bring in that Africa story, is what I'm getting to. So let's go to their chapter 1, the colonial period. The introduction of the Negro into the colonies. Look, they spent all extra time putting little confetti around the end and shit. Little old English script with the little slashy dudes going off of each letter. It's like, who the hell put this document together? Okay. Now let's notice page 1. Let's notice page 1, y'all. It's very empty. It says, so early as the year 1503, a few slaves had been sent from the Portuguese settlement in Africa into the Spanish colonies in America. Clarkson's History of the Abolition of the Slave Trade. So let's analyze this first, mentally. Let's really analyze this. Said the War Department has plenty of land records. I wouldn't be surprised. As much land as they took, they yeah, for real, they're tasked. So have you ever looked into where particular slave owners got their slaves, like ship logs with their names as purchasers or letters of purchasers of grant? To a degree. Some of them got them from sheriff sales. I just did a video about people in sheriff sales and how the sheriff sales knew what was the difference between an African Negro, American Negro, and a Creole Negro. And that sounds to me, a Creole Negro sounds like a European Negro, right? An American Negro sounds like an Indian, and an African Negro obviously is an African, right? And you would have these people who would go and purchase them and call them all African. And they'll put it in the newspaper. Hey, we got some Africans for sale in that same 1860 year. So these people be playing. Says most people who are online teaching, talking about history, usually ignore the War of 1812 because they don't see us as being part of it. I didn't think about that, Taz. And I've been I've known that the War of 1812 is something that I'm supposed to dive into direct. What's up, RE? Dominique's back in the house. My bad, y'all. I didn't click the little boy living downtown. I didn't click the little puzzle thing. Goodness. And I never move. Y'all never see me get like, oh shit, let me go check. That's how much I know it go off. By the time if a fire ever happens, I'm fucked. I better see some smoke because I ain't going nowhere. um, but yeah, like the War of 1812. Personally, mentally, I knew it was something that was very pivotal, and I had to dive into it. And I'm still trying because it has a lot to do with the removal at some point from 1830 Dancer Rabbit treaties and all that stuff from their westward expansion. And trying to figure out which sources I want to start with has just been my problem. And that's actually where I'm going with now. I'm trying to, that's kind of how I got to this document here, was looking up the War of 1812. So you have to check. Man, I don't never check. Well, I don't want to say I don't never. Every once in a blue moon, I look at the hallway. I'm just looking down my hallway. Y'all good. But you know what's funny? Don't nobody come out hardly whenever I come out. I look out, ain't nobody else coming out. What am I looking out here for? They know ain't no goddamn fire in here. So it be, I don't know, it be random things. But okay, so first page. So for those who just got back, we're looking at the document and they're talking about this is the war document. And this is the first chapter. And it's talking about the introduction of the Negro. They spent more time decorating this page than they did writing the first page about the book about what it was about the Negro. But I just want you to first of all take this into account. First of all, I want y'all to realize that I've been doing research trying to figure out when exactly via primary sources did the first Africans get brought here by some Spaniards, if at all. So I've been looking at old 1500s books, primary, and some 1600s. So far, I haven't found it. But we've seen a lot of Indians being taken around, but I haven't seen Africans being taken. But these later sources will say that. And so what I'm getting to is here you have the War Department talking about 1503, and they're talking about the Spaniards coming into America, bringing Africans in, and the source that they give you is not somebody from 1503, because the War Department should have plenty of research money and power to go find whatever they need, right? Find whatever book, right? But the book they decided to chose to go through is Clarkson's History of the Abolition of the Slave Trade. So you know your boy pulled it up. I may not still have it up, but I have saved some photographs of it. The history of the rise, progress, and accomplishment of the abolition of the African slave trade by the British Parliament. What year did this come out? 1808. Ain't that funny? The importation ban of anybody coming from Africa was 1808. We're just now getting a book about it, you know what I mean? But okay. But when I reference the page number that they say, hey, reference page 31. All right. I went to 31 and I didn't find it on 31. I think it was on 32. Right here. I must begin with an injury as those who favored the cause of the injured Africans from the year 1516 to the year 17, whatever. Like it ain't really saying that 1505. You know what? I had to search for it. My bad. There it is over there. No, that's 1503. But that's close enough. As early as 1503, a few slaves had been sent from the Portuguese settlements. Let me go to the next page. In Africa, into the Spanish colonies in America, 1511, Ferdinand V, King of Spain, permitted them to be carried in great numbers. Ferdinand, however, must have been ignorant in these early times of the principal matter, blah, 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 blah. But what I'm going to get to is that, wait a minute. You don't really got any proof, right? This is a book from 1808, right? Talking about 1503, and he's not referencing where he's talking about this Portuguese. He said the Portuguese. Just go with it. Some random Portuguese brought some Africans, random. We don't know names of either one, ship names. That's all too much. Okay. We ain't got time for all that extra shit. Okay. We're just gonna write it in the book. And that's what I want you to do. That's what I'm trying to show you. How absurd it is. It's just written in the book. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna believe that about 1505? Or could the War Department have actually got the book from 1505, found a translator, like they would easily go find translators to translate if they they take war in a new Afghanistan right now, like say if they go to Afghan right, even back then, they gonna find them an Afghan to read one of these Afghan books, right? Hey, read what this says so I know what to do over here, or well, you know where to go, Mr. Afghan guy. You mean to tell me they're so lazy that they don't even want to bring up a 1505 book and find somebody that knows either Paleo Spanish or just Spanish? And they're going to reference a book from 1808 from some white dude who just wrote it in. And then he doesn't reference where he got the shit. And in fact, I opened the book up and I did this like I say I do. And I said, let's see what's in this book. Is it just words? Yes, it's just words. Now, even on some of these, you should see there's a map. There's a map in there. More words, right? But you should see subwords, right? Smaller words than smaller text in the other text, which would be indicative of showing you more sources. They ain't got time to show you that, but they got time to show you the shackles that they had niggas in. Oh, yeah. These are the type of shackles we had these niggas in as we took them on the slave trade. This is the history of the slave trade. Where are the shit manifests? Where are the books? And hey, where's the letter that you wrote, that you read to King Ferdinand so you can show it a screen copy like you did with those to prove that you read the letter? You gonna prove to me that y'all knew how to make some shackles, and you proved to me in another photo that you knew how to put a map in this bitch. Okay. All right. Just because it's in a book. He said somebody's been lying. I just looked at it. Said, what's the book, David? Yeah, I'll show you. It's a pointless book. But the history of the rise and progress and accomplishment of the abolition of the African slave trade by the British Parliament. Oh, and think about this. The British Parliament didn't have enough, because I kept saying the War Department. So now we have two clumsy people here. The War Department didn't think about it. Should I find a 1500 book? Wait. No, I ain't got time for a 1500 book. British Parliament 1500 book. You got to put the letter in the book to King Ferdinand. I ain't got time to do that. Now we're gonna take time and put these shackles in on you niggas. Yeah, I definitely want you to see this. I definitely want you to understand that we have patents on shackling your ass up. Okay, that's some bullshit. You can't tell me that you can't tell me that both the British Parliament and the War Department dropped the ball. Okay, and this is why. Okay. So I talk about all kind of books being fake, right? When I was on the live stream some days ago, and this girl was talking about Barracoon, and it's the book by Zora Neale Hurston, where she is supposed to be the people from the Clotilda, one of the survivors of the Clotilda. Now, this nigga got here in supposedly 1860 or two or something. Maybe had 3 years of slavery, and all of a sudden he's speaking like a Geechee man, English Geechee man, and goddamn don't remember no African language. But on top of that, not once did she even ask him to speak the words. It's different to say he didn't understand it. But you mean to tell me this whole time while you're trying to so desperately preserve his Geechee language and the way you make fun of him, the way you know retype or write his words down, you mean not one time you said, "Hey, Mr. Kosola, do you think you can speak a little bit of African words for me? You told me all these memories you had. You know any phrases or anything? Like, come on." And the girl that was on there, I was like, y'all got to scrutinize these books more so than anything. You know what I'm saying? I said many other things about it too, but she started to say, why she said, why would he speak to her in African if she doesn't understand any African language? That's dumb. Why would he speak to her in any kind of African words? It's an interview about him preserving who he was as an African. Are you stupid? That's the most important thing. Tell me the words you and as if natives. I wanted to go off so bad. As if natives every day don't come up on public platforms everywhere and be like, Hokeniko Boki. Yes, that's how you say hello in my language. That's all they fucking know. But they gonna make sure they say some of that bullshit ass shit they know real quick every single time. Everybody come over with their language. Nigga, are you serious? And then when that's like, we will give every excuse to keep the narrative of something going that you just really want to keep your ego tied to. And that shit pisses me off. Like I was, and even when I said, I was like, ain't nobody sat around here and walked niggas around the tree of forgetfulness and niggas just remember forget shit like Men in Black. What they get on the vote like this with blank brains and shit? They ain't got no more thoughts. They can't even think no more, right? Because you gotta think somehow. What words are you using as you think on the vote? They just like when you hungry, you just gotta mumble. I forgot my language, nigga. They done sent me around the tree of forgetfulness. Like, come on, man. The whole time everybody on the boat was quiet because they didn't know shit else. They didn't know how to speak no more. But then you also got references that these people lost. They would say things like these people was separated so they couldn't speak to each other in their language so they could eventually look. This is why I say you gotta stop. They said apology for the alarm disturbance in the email. But yeah, you gotta stop with the BS. You gotta scrutinize these things. Just like I'm scrutinizing this book, I'm gonna scrutinize those books too. I don't give a damn if a black person wrote it in 1950. In fact, that makes me want to scrutinize it even more. Who the hell is this frat boy, sorority ass nigga that might be writing this book? And what made you read it? I mean, what proof do you have about whatever you have in this book, regardless of the case? But I'm gonna always scrutinize these things. But that's what, same thing with this African slave trade. There's nothing in here to prove it. It's like, this is like the rise progress, like basically the unabashed proof. And it's just a nigga talking. And that's 800 and no, almost 600 pages. That's the other book. Almost 600 pages of this. When I tell you these people, and I've proved many times, they will write books full of bullshit, hundreds of pages. I've easily seen that. There was this book that I showed y'all that it was called I should pull it up. Damn. I'm trying to think of a key word to reference it quick. It was the indigenous races of the earth. Damn. I don't even know if I got the title of it in here. But my thing with it is, it's called like the indigenous races. Here it is. Here it is. So this is the name of the book, y'all. Indigenous Races of the Earth, New Chapters of Ethnological Inquiry, including monographs on special departments. Wrote in 1857. Okay. Now, when you look in that book, most of this book, I said, you know what? Let me see when I'm gonna see a black person, a so-called black person, a real indigenous, right? Because we know now it's undeniable that all people indigenous are of a melanated hue. But as you go through this book, they show Egyptians, they show this, they show the little Greeks, they showing all these little Egyptians. They ain't throwing no color on those, right? Showing all these other ones, you know. This is a whole book on the indigenous races of the earth. I'm gonna go a little quicker through this. You'll see it going through. You got these people right here, whole book. All these YT folks and Mongolians and stuff. I said, so when are we gonna exactly get to the indigenous races of the earth? So we keep going, right? That's not one of them right there. Nah, that's Muhammad or something. You know, I don't even think that's real. We got Buddha. I mean, he's got the curls, but they took the melanation out. You know, but okay. Are we gonna ever see some indigenous races of the earth? We talking about skulls now. Okay, a lot of skulls. Okay, indigenous race now. Okay, words, lots of words, lots of words. Oh, there's the indigenous race of the earth. It makes sense. They've compared him to a monkey. The indigenous races of the earth are compared to gorillas in 1857. Don't worry about those people. They're just gorilla mutations. Okay? So if you think they won't make a whole book full of bullshit, hundreds of pages, this was 690 pages. Imagine sitting there every day, waking up. All right, I got some writing to do this morning, y'all. We on page 205. All right, what else about the indigenous races of I haven't talked about the Greek yet. Yeah, my friends, the Greeks. I ain't talking about them nigger Greeks. I haven't talked about the white Greeks yet. Yeah. So the white Greeks. Yeah. Right? Like, what kind of shit is this, dude? You know what I'm saying? Just wasting people's time. Yeah, right? It is like that's why I'm like, this is why I love like being able to open up books like this. And I gotta do stuff like this to wage yourself to get through the bullshit, because that's exactly what they do. They have a lot of time wasting propaganda that will be in between you and the truth, and it's up to us to try to go through all of that, which is wild. Now let's go back down here. So are we gonna say this book is real? Hell no, this book is a bunch of bullshit, right? But the War Department referenced it as one of their things. Okay, well, let's go to the next page of the no longer credible War Department document. Page 2. They could have included that on page 1. It's only a partial page, but okay. It says, though it is commonly said that the first African slaves were brought to the American colonies by a Dutch ship of war, which landed 20 of them at Jamestown in 1620, they had, as we have seen, been introduced to the continent by the Spaniards at a much earlier date. Sir John Hawkins, the slave merchant, figures in the Spanish settlement of Florida. He arrived off the coast in 1565. In the same year, Menendez covenanted with Philip II of Spain to import into Africa 500 Negro slaves. This was according to The Civil War of America in America, The Draper, by Draper, Volume 1, page 190. So you know your boy had to find it, right? Oh, okay. You're talking about this word right here, this book right here, 1867. And I found the page 190, 191. The introduction of African slaves. Now, do you really think I care to read this page? This is in 1867. Again, what I did with this book is exactly what I did with the last book. It's a little bit longer. Hold up, because I forgot to go forward. There you go. Right here. I did like I did with the last book. I said, well, let's see. In 1867, do you have any major information? There's a map. Do you have any ship manifest? Do you have any documents? Illustrations, anything to show to me that if I read this book, you're going to exactly tell me about the history of the American Civil War and how these African slaves were introduced. No, as y'all seen, it's nothing but words. And when I see nothing but words, that means it's nothing but a nigga talking to me and expecting me to believe whatever the hell they're saying without any sources or proof. And sometimes they may put the source in there, but I don't even see parentheses or smaller letter text except for these little headings for the chapters and little shits. You know what I'm saying? So you have the War Department talking about the Negro, trying to explain his military service, but before they can explain his military service, they've got to paint a picture. What picture are they painting? That you was a slave. Why did they have to paint that picture? They really don't. But we know why, right? They gotta make it seem like you wasn't no Indian that was just coming here no Indian that just joined into these wars and blah, blah, blah. You had to have been brought here. We have to tell you the story. And that's no different from today. Every time you look up some of these news reports from people, like when I look up Charles Page, the person that built the first airplane, the airship, and they destroyed it and he had the first patent. They're going to say he was born in slavery. When you look up information about George Washington Carver, they'll tell you he was born enslaved. He was born in 1864. Slavery ended 2 years later. He was not enslaved. What were they whipping him at 2 years old? They had him out there on the fields crawling around grabbing cotton. Are these people crazy? But it's the same thing here. When I see this, they're painting a picture. But sad for them, we actually care about sources. And so when we go to look at this, you're not credible because you're not even giving us correct sources for these things. You're not giving us primary sources, and you're the whole goddamn War Department. The first slaves brought to the old territory of the United States were sold from the Dutch vessel, which landed in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. Notice they switched it up. It was 1620, 1619, Virginia, blah, whatever. But they said that was in the American Encyclopedia article slaves. That's where they got their reference. Yeah, they're not going to look at a 1619 book or 1620, 30 or whatever from the voyagers that went there and had some. I ain't got time for all that. We got wars to deal with in the War Department. Okay. Next page. All these pages could have been one page. On the 20th of August in this year, 1620, Dutch Man of the Year, Dutch war entered the James River and landed 20 Negroes for sale. Their reference for this, at least they're putting references. Their references for this was Lossing's Pictorial Field Book of the Revolution, page 457. It was a footnote. I did not go looking for that because I did not give a fuck. You got another one here. See, I'm smelling it again. Something's going. This is the smell, but I don't know why I'm smelling it. As if it's. Like I haven't burnt this candle in a long time, and it's sitting about 2 arm lengths away from me, and I can really smell it. I'm really like, well, yeah, it must be the ancestors. They really are taking what's already in here and really pushing it my way. That's wild. That's wild. Because I have not used this in a long time. In fact, I'm gonna burn it for the ancestors. For the ancestors. You said that's your ancestors, right? G Active had said that earlier. He was like, I was like, I smell this. He was like, yeah, they said that means that the ancestors are around. And I was still wondering what that smell was. And I've sat right here many times and I've never smelled that. Right? Like y'all see me do this, and it's been sitting over there for a while. So yeah, honor the ancestors, man. Much love. So yeah, okay. So then we get to this one. In the month of August 1620, another Dutch, okay, whatever. I just said, no, I haven't read this one. In the month of August 1620, a Dutch ship entered the James River with 20 African slaves. They were purchased by the colonists, and they and their offspring were held in perpetual servitude. Rise and Fall of the Slaves of Power in America, Wilson. Now, that's where I found the book that I'm about to show y'all. But I couldn't find what he wrote on this page 2. Page 2 didn't say what he just said. But I want y'all to see where it says that they were held in perpetual servitude. Now, we all know that people had the ability to be free. I don't know who did and who didn't, or who governed that, in a sense. In a sense, I have seen different things. I've seen certain laws and certain things, even more recent, about ways of people being able, like, I got a newspaper document that was talking about how if you work overtime, like it was a law in Pennsylvania, I want to say, that if you get the slave works for you for 40 hours for free. So now, but anything overtime, the slave gets paid. Let me see if I can find that for y'all. I just came across that. Anything over that, the slave would get paid. And I'm explaining what I look for it. And so that started, and then eventually the slave could buy his freedom with the extra money he made in his overtime. So now you got to think, it really is like a contract. You buy the slave from a share sale or wherever, prisoners of war, maybe a boat. I don't know about the Africans, maybe a few Africans, but you buy a few Africans, but you buy these slaves and they have to work for their contracted period of 40 hours a week. Anything they do over, they can make more money and eventually can buy their freedom and go work for themselves, is what it almost started to seem like to me. And I was like, I didn't know that. Yeah, here it is. Here it is, actually, right here. 1773. Okay. I said that wrong on purpose. 73 with an M in it. 70. All right. Men in that yellow part who have thus worked out their freedom are inured to their labor of their country, and certainly the most subjects. Hold on, listen. It's this one, but hold up. It's this article, but hold up. It's not that part. Okay, it's probably on this one. We're gonna start with this part up here. As soon as a slave is landed, his name is registered. Oh, yeah. So listen to this. People want to say they can't find their so-called people, Africans at all, but it said as soon as a slave landed, whether you be an African or whatever, or an Indian or whatever, his name, price, and etc. are registered in a public register. So if you're up there in Pennsylvania, looks like as early as 1773, you should have been able to figure out whether your people are on one of these registers. So quit playing with us. You either ain't looking or they ain't African when you find it. And it says, and the master is obliged by law to allow him one working day every week to himself besides Sundays. So that kind of a start to your whole weekend shit. real early. All right. So, and this was enacted. It says, I believe, it says, so that if the slave chooses, that says choose. So if the slave chooses to work for his master on the day besides Sunday, he receives the wages of a free man for it. Ah, and whatever he gains by his labor on that day is so secured to him by law that the master cannot deprive him of it. And as soon as the slave is able to purchase another working day, the master is obliged to sell it to him at a proportional price, viz. 1/5 part of his original cost. And so likewise the remaining 4 days at the same rate as soon as the slave is able to redeem them, after which he is absolutely free. Y'all can take a screenshot of that if you want to. You said so it's a 9 to 5. Yes. Yes. To sell. Check out the statute artifices and the freedom fees. Okay. So not still to this day. Yes, Dominique. Still to this day. When people say we are slaves to the system, and when they say everybody's slaves, they not lying. White, there's a lot of white tea folks and everybody else in these 9 to 5 positions, but they were also back then too, wasn't they? We wasn't the only slaves. So yeah, no, they really just thrown this on us. And notice, I don't even know if they talk about Negroes per se in here. They do say slavery, 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 slavery. I don't even know if the word Negro even comes into play in this document. Makes you wonder. And I have to read the whole thing. I think I did. I don't remember. I don't see it off top right now. But yeah. So basically, it's a 9 to 5, like Rashad just said. Both times you talked about in the smoke came. Yeah, right. It's the airship. I see. Oh, okay. I'm late on my YouTube comments. So yeah. So in a sense, we are put into these working positions, into a slave field personally out there until we can kind of purchase our own. Like I'm self-employed. I do my own thing with my business, but technically, it's like I'm purchasing my own freedom in a sense, because we still gotta get out there and work. I'm just doing it my own. I'm getting it myself, but that's still different. I wouldn't call that being a slave, but and I still don't call working being a slave. But I mean, in this sense, we got to look at it like that, right? But we all got to start off somewhere. You got to we know how life is, right? Once you get old enough, you got to make money somewhere. Now, back in the day, I'm sure we had a completely different process. We owned our land, whatever. You can, as I think about this, just on, freestyle it. Your children can stay with you, figure out how to work their land, all this other stuff. By the time your children leave, not only can you go help them move to another piece of land, because it was all of our land, you can help them build their house, go chop down the logs, whatever, make you some bricks, whatever, right? Build them a home. And once they know how to feed themselves and live in their home, they're free. You know what I'm saying? And they can take care of themselves. And they can decide what they want to do with their life after that. Do you want to be a fisherman and go out there and get tons of fish and help people out that don't want to fish and sell it to the folks and barter with folks or whatever? You can figure out what you want to do from there. But here in today's time, unfortunately, when you turn 18, you really just got to get put into the system. The system is so large and vast at this point, you got to pay somebody's rent and some other kind of bills, right? So that really brings up a lot there. But okay, let's get back to this. So this is going to pivot us to the last thing we're going to kind of go over. So let me just say this before we go into this whole source they have right here, the rise and fall of slave power. I want you to show you that there was one other page here about this Negro slave thing, and then we're talking about military law and orders. And the really reason why I want to show you that, and there's many other pages of that, and then you're going to go into the wars and stuff like that. is that was the military's extensive research about where the Negro came from in Africa. 5 to 6 pages out of an 1,100 page document. 5 to 6 fucking pages, 3 to 4 different references, early references not nowhere near a primary source. Hmm. Yeah. Uh, sounds like bullshit, right? But the records in here may not be bullshit. I got to go through them. There's a bunch of things I haven't even clicked down here. I hope they're not all letters. They should be like records of something. Looks like a bunch of letters too, though. Whereas many disorder patients in several counties, whatever. It ain't gonna be nothing easy. It ain't gonna be easy. And a lot of these you can't control F and just like type the word Indian and try to see if you can find some good shit. Like you got to take your time and literally go through this shit. Company commanders at First Mustard Colored Battalion, Captain Thomas Cole, Captain John S. Dexter, Captain Ebenezer Flagg, Captain Elijah Lewis. Roster of the battalion from field and staff muster rolls. Peter Turner, Paris Cook. And I'm going to tell y'all, let me show y'all this, why this is also really important to me. When I was looking up stuff about my family, the Loves, I realized this document I forgot how I found this, but it's a war. Oh, I was looking up stuff about Thomas Love, right? In my family, the main infamous Thomas Love, because he was unalive before my family was sent to Oklahoma. And I'm trying to figure out, was Thomas Love one of us? And then, of course, the YT Thomas Love comes in, and you know how that goes, right? Or what, right? Because in the 1812 war and things before 1830 Dance Rabbit Treaty are going to be where I'm going to find them. And so I found this war document. It's the War of 1812. And it doesn't have anything listed for widow. So that means to me, he was likely still alive. But I want y'all to notice this. I started noticing other Loves that was in the War of 1812. Now, there's no widow listed there. I'm assuming he's alive. Love, widow listed. I'm assuming he was unalive. Another Love. I had to go through it. I was like, wait a minute. Another Love with a widow. He was unalive. We could keep going. Hold up. I made a video because there was so many of them. Another Love. He wasn't unalive. Another Love. He was unalive. Another Love. He was unalive. Another Love unalive. Another Love unalive. Another Love unalive. A Love that still made it. A Love that made it. A Love unalive. 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 Another Love unalive. Another Love unalive. This one made it. Another Love unalive. This one made it. This one made it. Made it. Another Love unalive. Made it. A Love unalive. 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 A different person. Now I don't know if y'all like. I slightly got some tears in my eyes right now. I don't know if you heard the crackle in my voice when I read these, because it's still fresh in my head when I first got this, and I slightly teared up a little bit because I believe that a lot of us was unalive in that war, because a lot of the women and children went by themselves to Oklahoma, and this is paper proof. First, you gotta ask, why are so many Loves fighting in this thing? Why are there so many? I didn't even know there were that many loves at 1812. Just think of, let's pull up, let's pull this up. Let me pull this up. This is why I'm like, I gotta look real deep into this. And I can tell when I'm feeling emotions about it, that's when I know the ancestors is really letting me know I'm getting close to something. Let me find this document real quick. It's on my computer. I see down there, Nick. She said, "Same, let it flow." Right? Up. Hold on. Come on now. Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to find this link because my thing is this. They say Thomas Love was the main one that came over here from Wild English Bill, but apparently there was a couple of other Loves I think that were supposedly with that family, his brothers. Supposedly, I'm gonna have to double check that. Let me find my little link here. I think this is it. This is it. Let me send it to my iPad. Hold on, y'all. One second. Let me know about tomorrow so I can let them know they're asking me about it. Okay, let me send this over here. AirDrop. Come on now. I hate when basic stuff don't work. I'm just trying to send the website over. Come on now. And it's not sending it to either one of my phones. It's not sending it to my phone or to this. Okay. All right. Damn it. Let me do this. I can probably find it this way. Oh, damn it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So this is supposed to be the hierarchy. Thomas Love comes in. His parent is Wild English Bill, and they act like they don't know who the other person is. I got records of who that person was supposed to be, but so Wild, according to this, Wild English Bill just says Thomas Love. Now there's supposed to be some other love that supposedly come somewhere. I don't know where, but I just wanted us to look at timelines. So a lot of the loves coming out of Sally would have been of age by 1812 to be able to fight in the war because they were born in 1785, 1797, those years. Now, the people coming from Imahota, not so much, right? 1812, uh, is right next to 1810. She just had her first child in 1810, it looks like. So the children that came out of Imahota, which I come from Imahota and William Samuel, um, but the children that came out of here, I wonder if is it those children, or who? What other loves are there? Were there way more loves than we know? Like, where did Like I don't know. I got a lot of questions about this, and I really don't have any. I wanted to show y'all that. I forgot how I got on there, but it was something that I really just found out yesterday. I think it was. Yeah, it says yesterday at the top when I looked this up. yesterday. I was in the again. Well, yeah, you know what? I know how I found it. I typed in the War of 1812 in the National Archive records, and this stuff came up because it's the War of 1812, and it's their not their pension thing. It's just I forgot what it's called, but it's the all of these cards, and it came Samuel Love, or the Loves was in there. I don't even know how I stumbled on the Loves. I really can't remember, y'all, how I even got on this. But Thomas Love, somehow I got to it, and I was supposed to get to it. But to see that many Loves unalived in a single war right before the Dancing Rabbit Treaty, and I know that some of my loved ancestors came up there by themselves, that pisses me off. You know what I'm saying? That gets to me. Now I got to go figure out everything I can really about this War of 1812, which that's what I'm in the process of doing, which is what led me to these things that we're reading here today, this morning, and stuff like that. So yeah, like we're gonna go over one last thing, which is that source it was talking about in that last page, the rise and fall of the slave power in America. So I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Here's the book if you want to get a screenshot of it. Written in 1872. The history, rise and fall of the slave power in America. Because I'm wondering, what do you mean by slave power? Right? What do you mean by slave power? Now, are you talking about, are they trying to tell us during the time that the slaves supposedly got out of the War of 1865, got free, and the whole story is they voted niggas in office out of somewhere and all of a sudden got power? Is that what? I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have to read the book, but that's the title. But then we'll get to the pages like I was showing y'all. So, I mean, let me just pull up the book and we're going to read through a couple of paragraphs. And then let me see what page that was on. Page 643. Okay, we're going to read 642, 643. Let me save these pages so we can mark them up. Okay. Goodness, I pressed the button. 642, 43, 44. Okay. All right. So let's just start. We're going to start right here. This is from the testimony of Governor Parsons, who also said he had never known of a conviction for the unaliving of a Negro. He'd never known of a conviction from the unaliving of a Negro. It says in March 1870, in the county of Greene, Alabama, and you know what? They may say that they've never heard of it, but I've seen it. I've seen it in newspaper clippings even earlier than the 1800s, where a man had did something to a Negro and was jailed for it. But let's keep going. The prosecutor, and it was more recent. Like it's something I've seen recent. The prosecuting attorney was okay. Hold on. In March 1870, in the county of Greene, Alabama, Alexander Boyd, the prosecuting attorney, was unalive. Prior to this, a Negro named Sam Colvin had been unalive, and Boyd, having worked up the testimony, gave out word that he should proceed against the parties who had unalived Calvin. But before he had time to perfect his plans, his own taking off had been accomplished by a squad of 25 men who rode into the square fronting the hotel, formed, sent in a detachment who compelled the clerk to show them Boyd's room, to which they went, put two balls through his head and several through his body and left. Now, I'm gonna have to read this book because they might be talking about a lot of unalivings that was done in detail that we don't know about. We hear, like, it's one thing to hear massacres, and it's one thing to feel about, definitely feel a way about it because we know that they did it. It's another thing to have these details and to know who they were massacring. Lawyers, hotel owners. Let's keep going. This was in the town of Utah. That's an Indian word. Of about 2,000 inhabitants where the sheriff was stopping, and the elders and ministers of the presbytery were holding a reunion. No alarm was given. The sheriff called. What's that, boss? Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, but yeah, I was gonna actually I was gonna text you last night. I was like, I should have just brought the camera there, but I also didn't want to leave it on the pool table. So I'm gonna bring it to you when you get here. What? I'll tell you about it. Yeah. Nah, I mean not really, but I ain't feeling it. But I'll tell you about it. All right, bet. My bad, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Never mind. Don't worry about it. They just wanted the deposit refunded. All right. So okay. Um. Okay. So my bad. I'm trying to think about. So okay. No alarm was given. The sheriff called no posse. The people remained quiet and slept the sleep of the just. Nobody got up in excitement. The bar passed no unaliving, no unavailing. We say that word so much we think we see it on paper. Resolutions of grief or indignation. No member attended his funeral, and he went to his grave with as little ostentation as accompanies the ordinary town pauper to his final abode. All this could not have happened in a community unless the leading influences were unmistakably on the side of the deed and its design and significance fully understood. I have to go a little bit more into that one. But Reverend A.S. Larkin, a minister of the Methodist Episcopal Church, sent out under the auspices of the Bishop of Ohio, made memorandums of 32 unalivings and 341 whippings and other maltreatments in his district in northern Alabama between 1868 to 1871. That's after slavery. No less than the 10 clergymen, all but one of whom he personally knew, were whipped, pew-pewed, or by violence driven away from their people. Now, during this time, too, this is where you'll have a lot of people who got family members who were leaving their states. Some were changing their names. Some were unaliving YT folks and changed their names. And you may think that they unalived that YT folk because they were just mischievous Indian or black folks, maybe. But or in many cases, I'm sure if you looked it up in your own personal ancestry, hopefully you've made the idea in your head that they likely did that to save themselves. And once they figured out they had to do that to defend themselves, they had to get up out the town because now you're going to be prosecuted, right? So they would drive people away. It says in some localities, the schools in some locality, the schools came in for an undue share of Ku Klux Klan attention. In 1871, in Pontotoc County, Mississippi, a large number of teachers of the colored schools received warning to stop. Let me say it. Received warning to stop their schools. The state superintendent of the schools, and think about that. You got all black schools. Why do you care to stop the schools if you're not trying to force us into y'all schools? It's likely what it is what I'm thinking. But like, why would you be threatening the schools out of all things? One second. One more second, y'all. Okay. All right. So a warning to stop their schools. Sorry, and I'm gonna cheat what y'all been saying. My bad. Warning to stop their schools. The state superintendent of schools, while on a visit to Aberdeen, Monroe County, Mississippi. Let's go to the next one. Discharge of his duty was called upon by 120 armed men and warned. They informed him that the rule was first is a warning, second is a whipping, and the third, unaliving. He refused to leave, and they beat him until he became insensible and left him, having previously given him to understand that the rule would be carried out and the next call would be for his life. Okay, the next call is going to be for his life. 26 schools in the vicinity were closed by the direction of these bands. What? You know how far of a reach that is? How many children, how many people? 26 schools, colored schools in the vicinity were closed by the direction of this band. In one place, over 80 armed men called upon a female teacher at midnight, went into her room, and gave a preemptory order for the closing of her school forthwith, which was done. She closed the school. The Reverend Dr. Murph, though born in the South and highly respected in the community, was obliged to resign his position as the director of free schools to avoid a call. Man, he was the director of free schools. Think about this. They literally took over the school district. In my head, like, you went around to 26 schools, forced the people out who built those schools. They obviously then built our colored schools and then come in later on. Get out of here, you niggers. Get on out of here. We're going to burn this place. No, they ain't going to burn it, but, got to make sure that, let me look over here, make sure the, what's color ain't going. But then you forced the reverend out, who was the director of the free schools, and I'm sure you're going to install your folks. to avoid a call, which was, and you think about this. This is at a time when people was like, "Oh, we didn't read or write." This is what year is this? Hold on, what year is this? This has got to be between those same years, 1871. You mean to tell me that in between 1865 to 1871, we built 26 schools, or were they already there? 26 just in that vicinity that you had to go through and shut them down. Let's keep going. Says position of director to avoid a call which was threatened by the Ku Klux. Another minister and a friend of the latter, Reverend John Avery, had his house burned in Winston County for the offense of teaching a free school. 5 unalivings were committed in Monroe County. That's my folks was in Monroe County. 1 in Luns County, and 15 in Noxubee. I know my people were in Shakulak, I think Noxubee too. Oh man, this is crazy. The mode of executing many of the atrocities was in keeping with the brutal design. No regard being had to age, infirmity, or delicacy of health or sensibility of the victim. Frightful curses and imprecations. Some of these words I gotta look up. I don't know what the hell an imprecation is. Accompany the laying on the lash and followed the helpless victim of slaughter as they passed to the valley of the shadow of death. Mr. McBride, a Scotchman living in Sparta, I think that's Georgia, Sparta, Georgia, who was pursued, related as follows. There were 2 rooms in the house of the colored man, and I went into one of them and tried to hide. They came in and got me. The colored people prayed to them, "Don't hurt Mr. Mack. For God's sake, let him alone." They took me out of the house and across the yard. I asked them in what way I had injured them. I justified the attack on me. They cursed me, told me to stop talking, struck me in the side with their Bowie knives that had scabbards on, and with the butt ends of their pistols. Then they obliged him to strip naked and whipped him with gum switches, which sting the flesh at every stroke, little nettles. They said, "God damn you. Don't you know this is," oh yeah. They said, "God damn you. Don't you know this is a white man's country?" Let me put that in a different color. They said, "Damn you. Don't you know this is a white man's country?" He told them that the white people had employed him. Let's go to the next page. He said that he told them that the white people had employed him to take charge of their Sunday schools. And now look, that goes into another thing. Remember, we talked about in the 1700s them propagating the schools in the Bible. These schools would be first ran by Sunday schools or pastors who were the church. Well, they weren't the church wardens. The church wardens were above them, but the church wardens would be the people who hired said Negroes to teach and to run these schools. And we got documents from there from the 1700s from the newspapers. So for him to say that, they hired me to be here. Like, you out here trying to unalive me for teaching at this school. Y'all the one that hired me to do it. Okay. And we're satisfied with him. He said the people, white folks, hired him to take charge of the school, and we're satisfied with him. But this was to no avail, and they kept on whipping, while for his edification, a portion of the party discussed the propriety of shooting and hanging as the most fit of his in his case. The man succeeded in getting out of their clutches by a sudden spring and escaped the destiny that was apparently in store for him. Got away. Says, but it would take 2 volumes to give the details of the numerous cases that were reported to the Congressional Committee of the general character of this general character. I need to find that report. What is the Congressional Committee of that time, and where is that report? I need to see it. Senator Scott, in a speech in the Senate, gave as the result of the investigation that came to his own knowledge as follows. In North Carolina, let me make sure I do that. In North Carolina, in 14 counties, there were 18 murders, unalivings, and 315 whippings. In South Carolina, there were in 9 counties, there were 35 unalivings and 260 other flagrant outrages. In Georgia, there were 29 counties, 72 unalivings, and 126 whippings. In Alabama, 26 counties, 215 unalivings, and 116 other outrages. And in Florida, 1 county alone, there were over 150 cases of homicide. In Mississippi, 20 counties, 23 homicides, and 66 other cases of outrage. Now, typically, y'all know me. I don't take words for just fact off of reading them. I need my proof, right? But I'm starting to believe this. Seems to be one of those stories they don't want us to know. A lot of details are missing, and I'm gonna try to find this Congressional Committee report. And if anybody finds it, send it my way. In 99 counties in different states, he found 526 homicides. You're talking about almost thousands of us. And 2,009 cases of whippings, but the committee state that in Louisiana alone in the year of 1868, which we were talking about, there were more than 1,000. And the most of them were the result of the operation of the KKK. The influence of these atrocities upon political matters is shown by the remarkable change in the popular vote which took place at the time. So the Republicans apparently, I don't know if it's talking about Republican losses, but our people were Republicans. Now I'm going to have to read more into that. I'm going to definitely have to read more into that and report back what I find to y'all. Oh man, you got the War of 1812, which has unalived a lot of family members. Then you got atrocities of us being moved and reclassified in between that through the removal and the Third Dancer Rabbit Treaty. And then you got the fake whatever civil war that happened at the time. And you got to think too. And let me say this last thing. And then after the Civil War, you got all these atrocities happening. And you got to think. They want you to believe that let me just Google it. I'm pretty sure. Did the slaves fight with the Southerners in the Civil War? Ain't that going to be the mainstream narrative is yes? For the vast majority of the Civil War, enslaved people were strictly forbidden by law for serving as combat soldiers in the Confederate Army, while thousands of enslaved individuals were forced to support the Southern war effort through coerced labor. They were not considered soldiers and did not participate in significant fighting in the South. I thought I heard that they said that we was fighting along with them in the South. I thought that was the mainstream narrative. Now I do, y'all know, I do believe in my head that we were the South, right? We were those people, but I thought that was says no, slaves did not fight in the Southern states. They fought against them. The few black soldiers that did fight, of course, that's a little Reddit bullshit. Then slaves held in the Confederacy weakened the Southern war effort in a variety of ways, and so, or maybe the mainstream narrative is they freed the slaves so they can go up there and fight with the North. I can't remember, but either way, I got some studying to do in this time frame for sure. And these unalive 1,000. Like you don't even like what's the average of homicides in what was that, Mississippi, Louisiana? Average number of Louisiana homicides yearly today. Let's just look at the numbers today. All right. So in today's time, you don't even crack 1,000 like that. Okay. Out of all, and there's a lot of people there. Like back then, it wasn't as many people. Even with a high population, you're not cracking 1,000. So for it to be 1,000 back then, that's a massacre. That's and as we see in that book, I gotta read that book further. Um, they're going after prominent folks, reverends, school teachers, school superintendents, hotel owners, and notice in one of them, he said that the people was praying to let the guy go. So it wasn't like they went there to just unalive everybody that was working there at that school or whatever the case, right? They went specifically for the leader. They knew that that was going to intimidate the rest. They was going to make them close the school. So that it wasn't like they were. Their goal wasn't necessarily 100% genocide. It was intimidation through real, real unalivings, real physical harm towards the leaders, real prominent folks. So yeah, no, this is all led me down many different paths today. I'm about to get off of here, but let me see what y'all been saying real quick. I can't get off here without at least referencing seeing what some of y'all been saying. I'm sorry. Let me scroll up and then I'm gonna come down. Let me see. You have created a virtual. Let me see. I was thinking about this yesterday. It took me 20 years in the military to buy my freedom. I didn't think about that. Sam, you have developed your own plantation. You have created a virtual plantation. I'm working for you for free. Said body snatchers. Oh yeah, we was talking about what you call it. Membership. That means his wife is either alive or not. We're probably when we're talking about going through the what you call this. I'm glad you're showing this. Many of our people were in battalions. It's in our family tree. That's true. That's real true, Dominique. I said, wow, dang. Now, who were they fighting and who were they fighting for? Now, that's a real good question. That's why I was like, I really got to dig deep on those wars. I just popped back in. What's going on with the loves? I don't know where we left off back then. I'm scrolling back down, but a lot of them were unalived in that war in 1812. Uh, hopefully you saw that, Nikki. Where's my little thing at? Where's it at? Oh, here it is. So yeah, this I'll let this up, keep this up, and as it plays through, every time you see a widow next to a love, uh, that means they were alive. If there's no likely, that's what I'm assuming. But if there's no widow listed there, that likely means they still are alive, or maybe they just have. Then maybe they could have been not married though too. Uh, and it was a lot of them. I immediately got angry. That's my people. Oh yeah, yeah. You said anything? Yeah, yeah. Facts for no reason. They had an empire to protect. Same when I looked up the Tubby. I heard of that Tubby. Tubby screen appreciate it. There was a lot saying that it flood. Okay, so I went quite a bit up. My bad. I have an Ollie loves Ben Frank love Ella Hesse Houston William Dave. Yeah, the loves were big. The loves were big. That's what's up, Meta. How you doing? She said, I have a love born in 1800 starts my love line. I just gave you. Wow. You know, the loves are huge. And that's why I say they must have been a prominent family and they must have been trying to take them out as well as take their land and their oil. People are strange. My love bloodline from North Carolina. And that's kind of the area where they say Wild English Bill and them supposedly started. But of course, Wild English Bill, that's a whole nother thing. What up, Hitch? It could be my great grand uncle was a legislator right out of slavery here in Texas, Houston. Mm, that's wild. If you look up the statute of artificers and freedom fees, it will answer that question. Statute of artificers, okay. And that is my uncle that was said to be his half brother of Abraham Lincoln. Really? That's wild. That's really wild. And then it makes me wonder how close Lincoln is tied to the Loves, and how prominent for real is these love are the love were the Loves. Still are pretty prominent. In the 1550s, we were indentured servants and was paid when it was over, hence freedom fees. In the 1500s, we were indentured servant to and was paid when it was over. Yeah, some people did do indentured service. There were some people that were enslaved through being prisoners of war or criminal things, other things. But some of them still probably had the chance to get out or buy their freedom and stuff too. There goes those Africans. Let's say to avoid the coup, we was about to set that shit off. They had to take over and introduce their indoctrination. Yeah, we're talking. Okay, yeah, we're talking about the school system part. Yeah, yeah. There were a lot of them in Texas as well. A coup is past overdue. That's where our land is, Knoxville County. Yeah, so you got people out there in Knoxville County. You got land out there, Mocha. That's wild. Let's see. Let's get up. I got kicked out and couldn't come out. You come every game for it. But they be bullshitting, don't they, Nikki? Same here. Y'all talking to each other. Well, Native American. Well, she said, well, Native Americans. I have Tubby also. Yeah, but Tubby, I have one person with a Tubby. I'll show y'all real quick. But his mom wasn't a Tubby. I think it's Side Nola Tubby. And I really need to I really need to take all the knowledge I've really gained since I haven't really been doing my tree like that and go all over all my tree documents now because I got a way better brain of information than I had when I was doing this tree. Um, oh yeah, under Dina. And so like when I look at these documents now, I can catch things that I would have easily. See, it says side Nola Tubby right there, but let me pull it up. Cy Nola Tubby. So I got him down, and he shows that his mom is supposed to be Dina. Um, her last name doesn't say Nola Tubby, and that's what I'm trying to get. I think she was married multiple times, but it shows that she was still a chief. She was in Spiral area, and all that. Said I have loves in my family. Man, it's a big family. Said what about Lakin and Harper? I don't have neither one of those on mine. Now that I think of it, I knew a dude named Love I grew up with. Talking about it's a big family, which is wild. I was using talk to text, so my words didn't type right. Oh, he's straight. Let me get caught up on my YouTube here real quick. I shed a tear every day for this, bro. I feel you on that. The real offended said this is proof. The best, say my best friends in love. Your best friends in love. That's wild. I am Marina and me. That's wild. I know how. I know a huge love family in Milwaukee. Oh, really? Man, it's crazy how many areas we be in too. My best friend's family is huge as well in Indianapolis. Like I really wonder what the Love family was. They want you to think some YT folks came here and they done named a bunch of slaves Loves, and that's the only reason why by accident all these niggas around is named Love because of some YT folks that spread their name so much. Come on now, these people be playing games. They wanted to stop our schools because ours were agricultural mechanical institution. That's a good a good point there. Yeah, yeah. When you look back at a lot of these schools, they were manual labor or whatever mechanical like whatever type schools. Yeah, yeah. Imprecation is a spoken curse. Ooh, I didn't know that. Um, those were basically incidents of mass. Yeah, the name of this history should be called the Great Cover Up. For real. And we doing the great uncovering of this shit for real. All of us, we all playing a part. We're all playing our parts. We're all putting our stories together. We're putting our research together, and we gonna knock this shit out. Said me. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm about to get off here. Let me bring this down to him, man. So, love y'all, man. Said if they mix with us, with all of us, we'd all have mental issues. Y'all know that's only supposed to be crazy. I don't want none of that blood in me. Not just playing. And if you got a little bit, some of y'all ain't too crazy. Hopefully, the ancestor blood is overcompensating for a little bit of YT blood that might be in some of our lives. But I love y'all, man. Appreciate that. So that mission leads to cognitive issues. Oh man, I get off here, so I got to go take this downstairs, man. But I appreciate y'all. Until the next live stream, appreciate y'all waiting on it. I've been having a lot of people, not a lot, but a few people were like, "Hey, when you going live again, man?" And I was like, "Man, I really owe y'all a live stream." My camera equipment was up. I had taken it to my office for a little bit, and then when I brought it back, I didn't set my setup up. So then I was just being lazy, not wanting to set up my setup. But then I was making my 10-minute videos, you know what I'm saying, doing my thing. But I'm gonna make sure to be doing some live streams so y'all don't get on to me. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you too, Liv. Thank you, and I thank y'all. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. I might even come back later. Well, yeah, I might even come back like way later tonight. We'll see.